Okay, y'all, just to recap, I'm Jason Shelton, joined by Cliff Nash, Director of Tupelo Regional Airport, Chief Bartigary, Tupelo Police Department, our Lee County Coroner, Carolyn Green, and Millicent Hoydel with the National Transportation Safety Board. As I said yesterday, from the moment an aviation incident or accident occurs, it becomes immediately federal jurisdiction. The Tupelo emergency responders, Tupelo Police Department, the regional airport, and Tupelo Fire Department all responded within 4 minutes to the scene and began a search and rescue mission. As you're aware by now, unfortunately, the search and rescue mission, there was no success or was not successful, was a worst case scenario and had 4 fatalities in the plane crash. I want to give just a quick update from the city perspective. The city's role remains that as a secondary or an assistance role to the NTSB. So that will continue until the conclusion of the investigation. That will be conducted by Chief of Gary Police Department, Cliff Nash and the airport, and then also Chief Walker of Tupelo Fire Department. One bit of information released, I hate to say incorrectly, but misinformation that was released yesterday just because of the belief at the time. The accident did not happen on the property owned by Tupelo Buffalo Park or Mr. Dan Franklin. The accident itself did occur on property owned by the city of Tupelo. We knew that it was near the water treatment facility there, but the accident actually did occur on property owned by the city of Tupelo and not property owned by Mr. Franklin. I know you'll probably have questions, and I'll open up for any questions you might have of me as well. I'm going to turn it over to our Lee County Coroner, Ms. Carolyn Green, here momentarily. I did want to stress, though, that while the names of the victims have been released, and you're certainly free to ask her any questions, the details or the extent of the damage to the individuals as far as those type graphic details will not be released out of respect for the families. And of course, the media, you can ask any questions that you want, but I would ask that you respect the fact that those answers will not be forthcoming even if the questions are asked. Most of the details, of course, will be with Ms. Millicent Hoydel. She is the investigator in charge, and she is in charge of this scene. And again, we're secondary to her. So before I turn it over to Ms. Carolyn Green, are there any questions for me on behalf of the city of Tupelo, anything as far as city-related questions? Okay, with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Carolyn Green, Lee County Coroner.
As Mayor Shelton announced, the names have already been dispersed to the media. I will go over those briefly one more time. They all are from Kerrville, Texas. Gwen Groggle, 70 years old. Henry Jackson, the pilot, was 75 years old. Charles Tortai, 69. And Carrie Tortai was 59. Are there any specific questions? I have communicated with both sides of the families. And we are in the process of doing a biological identification on the bodies.
Are the bodies already in Jackson? Or
Yes, they're already in Jackson, they sure are.
I know yesterday you talked about having to use DNA to identify the bodies. Was that process fast-tracked, or how were you able to identify?
Actually, we have an alternative means to identify the bodies. If we have dental records, that is a much quicker way of doing that, and we are right now in the process of doing that. If that fails, we'll have to resort to DNA, which takes a little bit more time. Could be upwards of weeks or months if we had to do that, but I think that we should be sufficient with the DNA, the dental records.
how soon with the dental records you think, A or no?
We've already got that process started with the dental offices in Texas and our state medical examiner's office, so I'm hoping just a matter of days to have that biological confirmation.
You mentioned that you spoke with the families. Can you talk a little bit about kind of how they're handling the news?
Obviously, it's just a major shock to both sides of the families. They just talked about how the family, these two couples love to travel together. They are just in disbelief, I think, at this point, waiting on some answers as to exactly what happened. They did relay that Mr. Jackson had been a pilot for a number of years, so they just are waiting for some answers, I think.
Are they planning on coming to this area at all?
Not that I'm aware of right now. That may change. We discussed that earlier. That may be something that they do in the future, but no plans right now that I know of.
What's the timeline as far as autopsies completed, you can move forward, or as far as,
Right.
I hate to say this, releasing the bodies, what there is?
Right. I'm hoping that will happen in a matter of days. Like I said, it'll be dependent upon those dental exams to see if we can get biological confirmation. Once that's done, they can go ahead and release the bodies back to the families. And as far as a report from these autopsies, I don't know how quickly they'll get that done, because they do have to work with the FAA and the NTSB to get those tests done in coordination with those other agencies. So it's not just as simple as going through the crime lab here in Jackson. They're working with multiple agencies. So it may be a little bit of an extension on getting those reports. Thank you.
By the way, if you would, before you start, could you spell your first and last name for us?
Good afternoon. My name is Millicent Hoydel. It's Millillicent. Hoydel, Hoydal. I'm the investigator in charge for the National Transportation Safety Board. I first off would like to express my condolences to the friends and families of the victims, and my gratitude for the City of Tupelo, the Police Department and Fire Department and FAA for their continued and ongoing support in this investigation. We arrived on scene yesterday afternoon responding to a Beach Bonanza 36, November 60 Romeo Whiskey out of Kerrville, Texas. They departed the Tupelo airport at about 8:30 yesterday morning and crashed shortly afterwards. We are here, our on-scene investigation, to gather perishable information. We want to document everything as it is before it's moved, before anything is changed. And that's our main focus, why we're here in Tupelo. In about 5 to 10 days, there'll be a preliminary report released. It will be a short, approximately one-page report documenting the information we've collected so far. In about 12 to 18 months, you can expect a full factual that will be released on the NTSB website, including probable cause. So at this point, we are not providing any analysis. We're just in the fact-gathering stages. I do have some facts I can share with you, and then I can take some questions afterwards. So after the airplane departed, there were witnesses that saw debris fall. The runway was swept, and there was portions of the exhaust system that were found. We've collected those, and that will be part of our ongoing investigation moving forward. We do know that the pilot made 2 radio calls wanting to return to the airport because of smoke in the cockpit. This again is also something we're looking into. There was a post-impact fire that destroyed a significant portion of the airplane. However, we are still able to gather large amounts of information to tell us what might have been going on before it crashed. So if you have any questions, again, I can't provide any analysis, but I'll take it.
So how much longer will y'all be on the ground collecting evidence? What's that process like?
We anticipate wrapping up today. The records will be recovered today and moved to a secure location out of state where we can spend more time with it later, doing an exam of the airframe and the engine.
When will that happen? Any idea when it's going to be taken out?
It will be this afternoon. By the end of today, it will be gone.
Is there any kind of procedure or protocol if someone did see debris flying from the plane, I guess, to then make that phone call, I guess, to turn the plane around? Or you mentioned that even the pilot was trying to say he needed to turn around or something like that. So
the pilot did call the air traffic control tower and say that they had smoke in the cockpit and wanted to return to the airport.
Oh, it was Tupelo Tower, right?
Correct.
okay, so I guess I don't know if you would know this yet, but was the plane en route to try to turn back around at that point, or were they waiting for clearance or something?
No, they were cleared to turn back and land on the runway.
Oh, wait, how far had they gotten up before?
We don't know. We're still gathering that information.
I know one, and I don't know if it's too early to tell this, but I was, one, I guess, theory that was out there was about just even the type of fuel that may have been put into the plane. Do you typically see in situations like this where there's some kind of engine problem or smoke in the cockpit, could that be caused by fuel or gas?
It's hard to generalize. A smoke in the cockpit could come from a variety of reasons. It could come from smoke, fire in the cockpit, something in the engine, something burning on the airframe. We don't know that it was fuel related.
Will the media be able to get to the scene? I think we had talked about that briefly yesterday. What's the status of that?
The scene, it would be hard for you to access the scene, so we've coordinated with the city for their communications officer to take some pictures that then will be released.
Do you know about when that should?
This afternoon.
Okay. Are you all working with the FAA as well, or how does that work?
Correct. So we work in what we call a party system. So the NTSB is responsible for investigating the accident and determining probable cause, as well as any safety issues that may relate to other airplanes, other beach bonanzas, or aviation in general in some other area. But right now, the FAA and representative from the airframe and from the engine, both those manufacturers, are also part of the investigation.
I have to imagine you've probably been to a number of crash sites like this. How does this one compare to, I guess, others that you have been to in your career?
Each one is unique and always tragic, and I spend a lot of time on scene documenting what I can. This isn't my first experience with the wreckage that has burned. And so we learn through our training, and we're taught that there's always information that can be gathered. So in a way that we approach it in a very routine and matter-of-fact kind of way, each accident is unique into where it happened, what went on, the environment that it's in, which is all part of our investigation.
What are the challenges you're facing with this particular investigation, if any?
We've been fortunate in that we've had great support from the police and fire department. It's reasonably accessible in that we're not hiking up a mountain or it's not in a lake. So we're able to get to it, and we have the support that we need to move it or do whatever we need to get all the information we need.
This may sound like a strange question. How do you move something, because we've all seen the pictures. I mean, that's not something you just throw in a wagon and take off.
Right, no. It goes on a big flatbed truck, kind of piece by piece. We'll document how it's moved, and then we can sort of reassemble it later, knowing how we took it apart to move it.
Is there anything that can be, I guess, learned from this situation? I don't know if it's too early to tell that, I guess, answer that question, but is there anything that other pilots or other people, I guess, flying aircraft should know after this happens?
That's what we strive for. That's our mission, to improve safety. So if there's something we found that can make a difference for somebody else out there flying, we will get that information out as soon as we can, because that's our goal, is to not see this happen again. Thank you.
Y'all, unless there's anything further, the one question was asked on photographs. Just to reiterate, the scene will not be opened. It is an active investigation under the NTSB jurisdiction or federal jurisdiction. The police will have that safeguarded. Our communications director, Alicia Faulkner, will get out there shortly and get some photographs, as many photographs as she can, and release those to all of the media outlets that want those pictures. Unless there's any additional questions of Mr. Nash or Chief of Gary, that would conclude the press conference at this time, though, barring any other questions.
I do want to ask Cliff, and this is just a strange question on my part maybe, but I would imagine whoever's working in the tower at that moment when they're dealing with an emergency situation like yesterday, somebody's trying to get back. Can you just share with us, I don't know if you can, Cliff, just how that person, how they deal with a situation like that? Because, I mean, it's obviously that's not a common thing we see here.
Well, first off, I'd like to reiterate our thoughts and prayers to the fans and families of those that perished in the accident. And I certainly, from the airport's perspective, really appreciate the support the city fire and public, police, the coroner's department, all the city agents, emergency management assisted in this manner. The individual that was working, I know, anytime something like this happens, it affects you. But I do know that the folks are handling it. The company is well aware of it and providing assistance for those folks. So.
Well, I guess too, I wanted to, if you can elaborate on that, like how are people in the tower, trained to handle situations like this?
Well, as an air traffic controller in the tower, an airplane departs and declares an emergency, or smoke in the cockpit is definitely an emergency, then that aircraft has priority, and never pretty much what the pilot wants. The controller tries to make that available. In this particular case, as it was stated, he requested to turn around and try to land back onto the airport. So in an emergency situation, I mean, you just fall back onto your training. You follow the procedures outlined in the FAA and air traffic control, and you make your coordinations as such.
Cliff, I'm just curious, the person who was in the tower yesterday morning, how long had that person, or how much experience had that person had, and had that person ever dealt with a situation like this before?
I'm not aware of that.
I know that the mayor mentioned yesterday about the fact that even though there has been another fatal crash that has happened from leaving this airport, or even other accidents that have happened around the airport, that this is not necessarily an airport problem. Can you speak a little bit to that at all? It's more, I guess, individualized to the aircrafts.
Well, I mean, that will be up to the determination by the NTSB in their investigation. But no, we took all the precautions. Our fixed base operator, Tupelo Aviation Unlimited, notified, made all the contacts with their fuel provider, took all the precautions, made all the records available. Several of the statements that we obtained were from the FBO, as they were eyewitnesses, which we turned over to the NTSB. So, when you're flying things, sometimes bad things happen, and it's unfortunate, but this is not a reflection on pending the outcome of the investigation, but this is no way a reflection of the airport or the fuel services at the FBO.
And my last question for you, I'm sorry. I don't know who the right person is to answer this question, but I don't know if these planes have black boxes, or if there are any kind of recordings that happen during the flight. Are those things something that you are looking at, and will those things be released at some point as well?
They do not have what you would expect as a typical black box, a data recorder or a voice recorder. Sometimes there are instruments in the panel, Garmin's or something that could record flight data. So if any of that is available, we will retrieve that and send it to our lab so they can download the information.
I do want to address the safety issue at the airport and reiterate there is no safety issue at Tupelo Regional Airport. This is an airport that serves different capacity of aircraft. So you have anything from crop dusters to personal aircraft, Cessna 172 or something like that an individual would fly as a hobby. You have commercial aviation here, and you also have a cargo business here. You have furniture business, you have banking, finance business. The accidents that have happened, they're all unfortunate. There was one fatality, but it's important to look at the cause of those accidents. One of the accidents was the plane ran out of fuel, so they didn't have enough fuel to get to the Tupelo Regional Airport. One of them, they had a landing gear malfunction landing at the Tupelo Regional Airport. One of them had a problem with the fuel line that caused an engine failure on takeoff. So, airplanes are machines, and they have mechanical breakdowns, and they're also operated by humans, and sometimes there's human error. But as far as the manner in which Tupelo Regional Airport is operated, I have absolute 100% confidence in the manner in which our airport is operated, in the training expertise of the staff here, and that this is a safe airport. So, while accidents have happened, it'd be like, if you said 4 accidents happened on Main Street yesterday, does that make Main Street unsafe? We don't know the causes of those accidents. So it's not as a person who's taken flying lessons, the airport here is as good as you get in the state of Mississippi. I mean, we have a beautiful runway, a safe runway. We have air traffic control here, which many airports don't have. You have regulated airspace here. We have FBO here. We have mechanics here. We have the National Guard Air Aviation Unit here. So this is a very safe airport, and we're very proud of the airport facilities here.
One more question for Ms. Hoyle. Obviously, there was fire involved in this, and you watch primetime television, you see the CSI type shows, and it seems like miracles can happen as far as gathering data. Because there was a fire involved here, how is it a lost cause because of that as far as getting data, or is that something, can you pull data even though there was fire?
Absolutely. Sometimes while the surface of something may be fire damage, on a chip level, it may be recoverable. We can get control continuity to the flight control surfaces. They're steel cables, so they won't burn, so they'll still be there. So while we lose some of the surface stuff, the information that we need, we can often still get.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.